Well, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be working on a master 100,000 BTU salamander, space heater, ready heat, whatever you want to call it. A friend of mine just borrowed it, thawed his pipes out. It's a really cold day. I think it's like 17 degrees out. And he said it stopped working. He said he had fooled around with the adjustment on the back, so that's a bad thing to do if you don't have the gauge to set that properly. But all it's doing is when you plug it in, it's just running and doing absolutely nothing. The breaker will kick out after a while. I'm going to go ahead and tear this apart and see if we can take care of it. So let's go ahead and get started. Just like all the projects, you want to make sure that it's unplugged before you get started. So make sure your device is unplugged. And you want to remove this top cover. Is I'm going to look inside here while it's plugged in, see if I'm getting any spark. Okay, so we're getting spark. Now we need to find out if we're getting any fuel. Now this is a little tough because it's kind of hard to see. So what you can do is you can take a flashlight and put it on one side, and usually you can see if it's getting any fuel. Okay, now be careful when you do this. You still have this spinning fan here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that flashlight and I'm going to put it in one of those other holes just so I can see if I can see any fuel spraying out of the nozzle. Here we go. Okay, there's a little bit of fuel coming out, and as you can hear, it was trying to fire. All right, but it didn't look all that good. So maybe the nozzle is just dirty. So we're going to go ahead next, and we're going to pull this unit out of here and clean that nozzle. Okay, before I go ahead and pull that nozzle out of it and see if it's dirty, I'm going to go and do a pressure test on it first. On the side of the machine, it says there's supposed to be 4 psi. So this is how you adjust the air right here. To decrease or increase the airflow. And what this one is for is you can actually put the hose on this end here to check the pressure that way. I decided to do it on the inside just because my hose fits on here better than fitting in here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the hose off the side. This is hooked to the pump, just like that. And I'm going to plug this in instead. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and detach that plug because it was trying to fire and I don't want to fill my shop full of smoke. So I'm going to just go ahead and pull that off there. Hopefully it doesn't get tangled up in the fan. Okay. And then I'm going to turn it on and see what I'm getting for pressure. It says on the side of the machine it's supposed to be 4 pounds. Almost 6 pounds. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn that down. That's about right there, 4 pounds. Okay, so we know that that's set now, and he had changed that because he thought that was the problem. But unless you have a gauge, you really can't set it. So let's go ahead and plug that back in. I'm going to plug the spark plug back in. I'm still not going to rule out that there's something wrong with the nozzle, but I wanted to get this out of the way first. All right, here we go. Okay, so we have fire. We've got the right PSI. So now let's go ahead and pull that nozzle out. Alright, I went ahead and just grabbed this whole mechanism out of there because there is a washer and a spring there, and I want to be able to put those back in by having it out rather than trying to put it in while it's in the machine. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that in there. There is some rust on these washers. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it or not. And this comes apart. And this is just like a furnace nozzle basically. not too bad. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some PB Blaster. I'm just going to kind of clean it up a little bit. Nothing's real obvious, but it doesn't take much. Alright, so let's go ahead and put it back together. So we're going to take this piece first. I'm going to set the little nozzle piece right on there. I'm going to slide that up in there like that. Okay. Take our first washer, then our spring, and this one. Might as well spray this out real quick, make sure. Alright, let's go ahead and put it back in. Okay, so it's kind of the way it's laid out. The fuel is on one side and the air is on the other. So I can do it after I hook it all back in or before. I guess it doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and bolt this back in. Let's plug our air in. Plug our fuel. I'm sorry. This is our fuel and this is our air. Alright. Let's go ahead and put our plug back in. Moment of truth. Let's give it a shot. Now that nozzle was not all that dirty, but it doesn't take much to not get the fuel up inside there. We've got the right PSI on here. We've got that all cleaned up. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Everything's out of the way. Nice. Okay, that sounded really good. So generally they'll run a little bit differently with the top on here because the way this air is going through here. So let's go ahead and put the top on and let's give it a real good test run. So that may have all what it was cleaning the nozzle. It really wasn't all that dirty, but it doesn't take much. And the adjustment of the pressure. Woo. He's putting out some heat now. Running nice and smooth, running quiet, running like a top. Alright, well there it is. I let it run for about a half an hour. It's running great. So all I did was I cleaned the nozzle and I adjusted the PSI on the unit itself. Thanks an awful lot for watching and we'll see you on the next one.